So Americans are allowed to say what they think. That's the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. That's the lead in the Bill of Rights. This isn't China. It's a free country. That's what we tell ourselves. But nearly 2 out of 3 Americans don't feel they can exercise that right. They've been intimidated into silence. That includes the overwhelming majority, 77% of conservatives. What does that mean? Why does it matter if you have a First Amendment if you can't exercise it? Tammy Bruce hosts Get Tammy Bruce, which is excellent on Fox Nation. We're happy to have her on tonight and pose that question. So we have the First Amendment, but it seems irrelevant.
Well, it does. And look, compared to your previous segment, your reader there, I would welcome, I think, at this point, our new alien overlords, considering what's happening here. You know, the First Amendment matters. This is what makes the country the greatest country on earth, because we're able to discuss the issues. We're able to do so without fear of being arrested or put in prison. That is what the old world did to people. That's why the founders thought it was important to add into what mattered, the first thing that mattered. But of course, what we've got here are now years, a decade, or even a generation here at this point, where the left has been beginning to train us to feel guilty and afraid to speak about things. And when you're afraid to speak about things, Tucker, it's dangerous to think about them as well. So this is a classic leftist training, classic cultic training in many instances. And of course, now there's a new report out that, in fact, yes, 2 in 3 Americans, over 60%, are afraid to speak their minds. But liberals, over the last 3 years, that has jumped by 12 points. Because liberals at first thought, oh, that's only for the bad people. But in the last few years, 2017 to 2020, it's been dangerous for liberals who are moderate or just normal to speak their minds as well if they are against the liberal orthodoxy. So the traditional line from libertarians has been, look, the First Amendment protects you from government punishing you if you speak your political beliefs. But if you lose your job, if you're impoverished, if you can't support your family, then why is there really a distinction? Well, you see, that's it. There is of course, the presumption is only the government could ruin your life that completely. Right, and yet we now have in the private sector that action, right? So that was the concern, was who could really ruin your complete life. However, you know, depending on how one votes, people who think that way then are in charge of the government. Remember, we thought that a lot of people turned a blind eye because they thought it was only in the academy. It was only in schools, and the real world and real life would knock them out of it. Well, we're finding that didn't work, and so now, of course, we have to be concerned about politics and business and everywhere else as well. Very smart. Tammy Bruce, great to see you tonight. Thank you. Get Tammy Bruce on Fox Nation. Appreciate it. Thank you, Tucker. Thank you, dear.